Now, today, June the 12th, marks World Day Against Child Labour. Worldwide, 200 million children do still work, though, some in dire conditions. Our focus today is looking at the situation in Bangladesh and efforts to improve the lot of those underage workers. Child labour is a fact of life in the country, with over 7 million under-17s working. That's 13% of the population, many earning money to support their families. It does mean that the government's goal is not to prevent it, preferring instead to help those who do work. For the past year, a special bank has provided accounts that have enabled youngsters to save for their future.
Dhaka, the capital of Bangladesh, home to 7.5 million child labourers, from brick breakers at the tender age of 5 to mechanics as young as 11. Selina, aged 13, is one of those little workers. She is known as the little seamstress in her area. Karati Totla is one of the poorest neighbourhoods of Dhaka. Each day after school, her second life begins.
Hello, do you have work for me?
Yes, can you repair this for tomorrow?
With what my parents earn, it's difficult for the whole family to survive, so I work to help them.
Work to survive. This is the reality of the penniless children born in Bangladesh. Like many children here, Selina spends 2 hours a day behind her sewing machine.
I earn 5 to 6 euros per month. It allows me to buy some food for my family and pay for my tuition.
Unable to curtail child labour, the authorities are instead focusing on providing some kind of financial security for the children. For a year now, children are allowed to open their own bank accounts. They only need 11 cents to get started.
Hi, I'd like to deposit 2 euros in my account.
I'm used to seeing adults behind the counter, so I'm always a bit surprised when I see a child. But for us, all customers are equal.
The first time I entered a bank, I was a bit nervous. I was afraid of what people would think seeing me. But now I'm quite confident. I regularly deposit money and I feel like I'm someone important.
Thanks to this initiative by the Central Bank of Bangladesh, more than 2,000 accounts were opened in just 1 year.
Most of these children have no identity. Many of them do not know who their parents are. They have no past, and it's very hard for them to imagine their future. They live only in the present. But with this program, they can save money and start building a future.
At the centre of this programme are 10 NGOs. They are responsible for guiding children and helping them manage their money better. Dilara is one such mentor.
What do you want to do with your money?
I will use it for my studies when I need it.
With this program, we encourage the children to begin dreaming of becoming a doctor or a teacher, but their parents do not have the means to pay for their studies. So this money saved aside will allow them to at least finance a part of the school fees.
And so Selina is finally a step closer to fulfilling her dream of becoming a doctor.
Now, for a more in-depth look at this question, we're joined on the line by Raymond Torres, Director of the International Labour Organization's Research Department. Thank you very much for joining us this Friday, Monsieur Torres. We've seen the efforts there in Bangladesh, setting up bank accounts to provide a more secure financial future for child workers. The goal there is improve the life for them, not to stop them from working. Is this the right way to address the issue?
Certainly it can help them to some extent, but really the issue is much more important than that. And I'm not sure that that particular scheme will be enough in order to address the issue of child labor in countries like Bangladesh. The reason why these children are working is 3 reasons. First of all, they live in poor families, or they are on their own, they're poor. Secondly, sometimes there are few educational facilities, or quality education is not enough. And not accessible enough to these children. And third, there is considerable pressure from the markets and from international competition, which forces a number of businesses to look for cheap labor in order to improve their competitiveness. And I think all three issues have to be tackled, and that response of Bangladesh is, of course, an element, but it cannot certainly be the whole solution. And you will remark that much of this scheme in Bangladesh is very much funded by the children themselves, so actually it doesn't really solve the matter of poverty. Instead, what we see in a number of countries is a multi-faceted approach to the three issues, the three factors of child labor. First of all, by improving the incomes of low-income families, and there are systems of what is called conditional cash benefits, in other words, financial help to families that send children to school. This has been tremendously important in countries like Brazil or Mexico, for example. It has reduced poverty considerably and also improved transitions to school. Secondly, improvements in the quality and accessibility of education, including in rural areas. And I think there has been some element of progress in countries like Bangladesh, certainly in parts of India as well, for example, or Northern Africa, where you can see that thanks to the fact that there is a more safe and high-quality education has helped reduce child labor to a certain extent in those areas where this has happened. And third, it is extremely important to promote international cooperation and ILO labor standards. In particular, ILO conventions need to be ratified and observed in order to avoid a race to the bottom in international competition and to create some sort of floor with a number of basic rights in order to avoid that this fierce international competition that is happening in sectors like garment, for example, and which are very important in countries like Bangladesh, that this fierce international competition translates into worsening conditions for children and other groups. I think this is very important to have a multifaceted approach in all three areas, and experience shows that it can be done. So what matters is political will. It's not a question of financial means. Some of these countries, including developing countries, are enjoying relatively higher economic growth. For example, in sub-Saharan Africa, some countries like Angola face very high economic growth. Bangladesh has not done badly in terms of economic growth, so there are means there. And also at the international level, of course, there is a lot of possibilities with the involvement of multinational enterprises, with the involvement of developed countries in order to create systems that help fund these programs that have been so helpful to reduce this major problem that is still facing the world economy today, the problem of child labor.
Okay, you mentioned there the market forces, the economic reasons perhaps why child labour does still remain so prevalent around the world. What kind of pressure can be brought to bear on international, multinational companies that use and benefit and profit from child labour?
It is rare that multinationals directly employ children, and most often this is very much the kind of labor which is connected to the domestic economy, not really the international economy. And if anything, it would be more connected to the subsidiaries or the subcontractors of multinationals. So I don't think that directly children are working for multinationals. But yet, multinationals can also help. And some of them do help. They are trying, for example, there's a French company which is trying to promote social protection throughout its subsidiaries. This is L'Oréal. They're trying to improve social protection in the various subsidiaries and subcontractors of the enterprise. So it is possible to do something about that for multinationals directly. But also the best thing that multinationals can do, certainly, is to contribute to paying taxes. You know, the taxes that, of course, are due. And the discussions which are happening at the G20 level to improve tax collection by multinational enterprises is very important in order to fund education systems and those schemes I mentioned before, these conditional cash benefits, in order to eradicate child labor and other problems, other social problems as well. So I think they also have a role.
Okay, Raymond Torres of the International Labour Organization, thank you very much for that insight.